Well, here we go. Trish Bates. Hello. How are you today?
I am good.
Yes, for those who do not know you, you are the founder of Hollywood Style. Is it Hollywood Style Studio? Like, is it
Just Hollywood Style.
just Hollywood Style?
Yep.
Look
That's
at that.
it.
So listen, for those that do not know, that is a salon. You have two locations, one in Mitchell, South Dakota, one in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yes.
What in the world would make you do such a thing?
Now, 13-ish years later, I don't know. I have no idea. Why did I do that? No. I actually went to be in the cosmetology industry for this reason. Like, I wanted to own a salon. I wanted to train stylists to be bigger, better, be the best they can be able to just create a good income in what they love to do, and support themselves and do what they do. So my biggest passion of it is just training the stylists to be amazing at what they're doing and make a good income at it. So that was, I went through all the process and did all the things myself first, did hair for a good 8 to 10 years before I opened my salon to figure out the do's and don'ts of everything, and then jumped right in.
Still, though, I mean, like, when you're thinking about other people making those type of decisions, and as a longtime salon husband,
Yes.
I'll give people a little clue into things. My wife actually works at one of your
Yes.
salons. She's been there for a long time. So as a salon husband, I understand that, running salons is this challenging thing. There's a lot of personalities in there, a lot of stuff going on. So to do not one, not two, and to be thinking about other people when you're doing that, that's a big deal. There's a lot of other things you could have done that were easier, or things that would allow you to make an impact that might be less stressful. I mean, what gave you the courage to do something like this, and why were you so passionate about developing other people that you would put yourself in the eye of the storm?
I think that mostly it was, the developing other people is what keeps me going anyways. I wouldn't do it for me or for any other reason than that. But I don't know, this industry is just super fun. It's super fun. And, like when I first went into doing it, I wasn't one of those that was like, did everybody's hair in high school or played with my Barbie's hair. I didn't do any of that. Like the technical part of doing hair wasn't my passion. Just the environment of the salon environment was so cool. Whenever I went in and was in a salon environment, it was so awesome. And the passion that people had for it was super, super cool. So I just really liked that part of the industry. When I decided that that's what I wanted to do, like my family was like, oh, you're going to do hair? Maybe you should go to school first and, get another degree before you do that. And like a little skeptical on what that would do.
Yeah.
I think that fueled my fire a little bit more, that I wanted to show people that you could do what you love to do and still have a good income and have a good career doing it. So that fueled that a little bit too.
Yeah, over a decade later, take that, family.
Yeah, take it.
What do you know? Well, so tell me a little bit about your approach. So what is the Hollywood style?
Our approach is mostly ideally I like to have the fresh babies out of school and train them and teach them in the right way, give them a career path, so to say, of what they need to do to build their business and build their brand. And every stylist within Hollywood Style has their own brand. So they're their own business inside a business for the most part. We just tried to cater them into the right direction. We all live under the same culture and the same ethics that we have as a salon, but they all create their own style and their own sense of clientele. So just kind of leading them along the way in what they do and how they do that.
Yeah. So what is the environment, the energy that you all are looking to create for your customers? Everybody, we talk about it, about that salon being that place where, people could come and they could talk and they could be around a certain type of energy and, the studio psychologist, so to speak. So tell us about that, what you're trying to create for your customers in terms of that experience that might be different or best in class in your eyes.
Sure. I think for what sets Hollywood Style apart from, I think, a lot of other salons is that we're a very team-based salon. So when somebody comes into Hollywood Style, they might be going to a certain stylist, but they're going to get a feel from 10 or 15 other stylists that are, around them. We're all very involved in each other's work. So sometimes we call it the Beyonce effect. You might have 2 or 3 people working on you at one time just because it could be for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But that is a cool feel, I think, for as a customer and as a stylist. Like, it makes our jobs a lot more fun, and it makes the stylist or the client feel really like Beyonce.
Right. That's a good feeling if you feel like Beyonce.
Yes, absolutely.
For sure. I mean, so, most recently in this COVID era, we learned a lot of things, which is one of the things of Culture Con, which is figure it out. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But a couple of things we figured out is that people really love getting their hair done. Yeah. Because when they couldn't, that was a really, really big deal. So number one, I think it clues into how much that can affect a person's confidence and how they feel about themselves and their social interactions and things. Let's just talk about that first of all before we get into kind of how you dealt with COVID. But just having that feeling, how in touch are you with how much it means to people, women in particular, to have this experience and access to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think COVID really brought that to the forefront for us because they were going to come get their hair done no matter what. I mean, we had a little bit of a shutdown time, but we just took all the precautions and made happen what we could happen because they wanted to come. But it is a huge impact on anyone. I mean, men and women, but like just feeling good about yourself just stems from everything, emotionally and physically. And it just really, it really does impact who you are and how your day goes and how you feel about yourself, whether it's how you feel when you leave the salon or the fact of, the connection you have with your stylist and just the conversations you have in the salon. Like, it really, we have a lot of conversations about we're just their day maker, and that feels amazing. Like, that's the coolest part about what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it feels good when you can really affect what people do. And again, I think sometimes when people think about being able to do things for people, they think about these kind of grandiose things, and sometimes they don't think about making a person feel good and how that can change the person's entire outlook on how they approach the day, the week, or month. And so it's a really, really valuable service. Something that I probably wouldn't appreciate, but like I said, I'm a long time salon husband, so I understand the experience a little bit. The other thing is you're working in an environment managing two with a whole lot of women in it.
Yep.
Whole lot of energy, a lot of estrogen in that situation, a lot of women. And, with that, there's just the natural realities of having 14 to 20 some odd women here and what you have in Mitchell. Like, how do you manage all of that energy?
I don't know. No. When I first started doing this, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no clue what I was doing. I had a business coach, and so he just told me what to do, and I just did it. Like, everything was really black and white to me. Like, it was like, this is what they said to do. Like, it's proven, it worked, I'm just going to do it. And I did that for a lot of years, just black and white. This is the rules. This is how we do things. This is what it is. And as I learned through the years and as I progressed into things, obviously women are not black and white.
No.
Not even a little bit. So every person in the salon has a different personality, something different that drives them, a different motivation. So you really have to adapt to that. But it's probably, I quit doing hair, technically physically doing hair about 10 years ago now. And ever since then, I've had the pleasure, which is what I love to do, of coaching the staff to be what they can be. And I love that so much. It's probably my favorite thing to do. But in doing that, you're personally involved in every part of their life. So you just really adapt to that, and you just have to be creative of what drives them, because it is very, very different for every single person. And I could literally say out of the 30 people that work there, there's not one person that has the same goal as somebody else. So, or the same motivations or the same drive or what gets them going. So it is very challenging, but also, it helps you grow in every aspect of your life.
Yeah. So this was a unique opportunity for me because obviously having my wife come home and we would do the how's your day type of thing. And I'm sure it was probably a little bit frustrating for her because she would talk about whatever issue, frustration, pain point she might have. And naturally, this is what I do. And so, after 10 years of marriage, I've learned the difference between listening and fixing. And one of the things that we talked about with my wife and I was so difficult for me is not like, this is what I do, let me do something.
Yes.
And that never really worked out until recently. So we have had an opportunity to work with you all, which was glorious for me because that means my wife had to listen to me a little bit. And so that was super fun. But it was so nice to be able to touch it because obviously, especially from the Sioux Falls location, a lot of these women I've known for a really long time. And obviously they're all close friends of my wife and things of that nature. And so for me, it was really exciting to get to work with you guys and do what we could to enhance the culture. What made you do that? Because, you all were, pretty successful. And we talk about this quite a bit, that the misconception about us is that we work with bad cultures, but bad cultures don't call us, right? It's always people who want to get better. And those are the places you want to be. You want to be with people who want to get better. Right. What made you want to do that? What made you want to go through the work of trying to enhance and kind of be really intentional about the culture and how it works, especially when you have folks that are thought of as many cases as independent contributors. They're coming in, they're doing their thing. What made you want to invest in that? What made you want to give the time, energy, and effort to do that?
I think one of the things you just said is being intentional about it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think at Hollywood Style, we have a great culture. Like we've created it, we've grown it, we've done that from the very beginning, I think. So we have a great culture, but you have to live your culture intentionally every day. You can't just just hope it happens.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big things, because on a monthly basis, we go from like good culture to bad culture to good culture to bad. Like our culture goes like this because it's whether we have a good month or a bad month, or this person's good and affects the whole salon, or this person's bad and affects the whole salon. So it's every day we have to intentionally live in that culture. So I think that's one of the things. It just always has to be in the forefront of our minds. So having you guys come in and just have those conversations really, really helps. I think the other thing for me personally was at our Mitchell location, I started with them as fresh babies, and they've grown with me for 13 years. And so they just know our culture and know who we are and know this is what we've grown into. Sioux Falls is a newer location, and they were a culture before me. And now we're trying to grow this culture after me and become, and in my head, I think we should all become one culture, but it doesn't work like that, because remember, women. So I think mostly just kind of getting everybody on the same page was huge in that aspect. But just living it intentionally every day is a really hard thing to do. So you need somebody there. And it's like coming from me, it's like your mom telling you something every single day and you don't listen. And then somebody else tells you, and then you're like, oh yeah,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and I'm like, I've been telling you that every day. So it's just good having outside voice come in and tell them those things too. So
absolutely, we hear that a lot. I mean, that's true for a lot of things, because when you're with people day to day, it's like living with your kids, right? You don't necessarily see them growing the same way as that uncle or aunt or whoever who hasn't seen them for a couple months, and it's like, oh my God, look how you grown. When you're there every day, sometimes you don't get a chance to see that growth or lack of growth, because you're right up close to it, and that's why it's good to have different eyes on it. Sure. But you yourself, you're a person that is you're aspiring coach yourself as you start to develop your brand and really wanting to take this idea of developing women in particular out into the world. What made you want to kind of start to play that role and start to branch out and do a little bit more?
A little bit of it just has to do with, I always want to be growing and to be doing something different. I'm not a very good sit still type of person. So always wanting to do more and be bigger and better and do something different. Over the last couple of years, I've got to basically take a next step in my career where I'm now training managers to do what I'm doing with the staff. And so that puts me in a new role, and I have to figure out what that is and where I want to go with it. So I kind of think that's that's mainly what made me want to step into that. And just, I see the successes that we've had in the past. And so just kind of being able to bring that to other people is, like I said, just passing on that knowledge is always huge. So
yeah. What gave you the courage to do that? Because, we deal with a lot of folks who we encourage to use their voice and get out there and do those things. It's really hard for them. We have a lot of leaders that are dealing with imposter syndrome, a lot of leaders that are questioning themselves, and so they don't think that they're qualified to be a mentor or they're qualified to teach somebody else. And everybody always wants to be there before they start to teach other people. What gave you the courage to step out there and really start building this thing?
I think mostly it's just the sharing your knowledge. It always seems to me to be selfish to keep things that you've spent blood, sweat, and tears figuring out over the years. Just keep that to yourself. So just spreading the knowledge, I think, is probably the biggest thing for me, and just knowing that it's not I don't know everything and I don't know what I'm doing, but if I can help you with one thing or you can try this one thing that worked for me or whatever. I think that just really makes it easier to do that, knowing that, I'm not an expert by any means, but if I can help in any way that, I just want to share that. So
I love it. Well, you've owned some salons for a long time. I think it makes you an expert, but that's one of those things where it's just like saying, we always talk to people is that you don't necessarily know how to get someone from here to there, but you know how to get somebody from there to here. You know what I mean? You've done that. And there's a lot of people who are on year 2 of owning a salon that couldn't imagine being at year 13.
Right.
There's people who have one location that couldn't imagine having 2 locations.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you can help people get from there to here, that's a big deal. There's a lot of knowledge in that.
Yeah.
All right, bringing it back to COVID, which was crazy.
Yes.
Figure It Out is the theme for CultureCon. That is what we are really challenging people to think about, right? How do you develop that attitude to figure it out when something comes at you that you can't control, that you can't really plan for? How do you adapt? How do you move? How do you stay focused? How do you figure it out, so to speak? How did you start to develop that attitude? And in this kind of COVID environment, how did you guys figure it out to be where you're at right now?
That is the perfect slogan, because that is literally what you did it was our kind of joke always was okay, we're just going to live week to week and see how it goes. And then it was day to day, and then it was hour to hour. Every decision we were making was in real time. So, we truly lived, and again, going back to being with 30 women, and then if you think about every one of our clients, a majority of them are also women. So you have to take all of their emotions and deal with that. We actually brought you guys on, I think, right before COVID started. So we had you guys all through COVID, which I think was a huge help for us just to, keep the culture in check. But it really turned our business around. I was, again, like I said before, very black and white and this is how we do things. COVID was anything but black and white. I don't even think it was gray. I don't even know what it was. So it was just taking every day and what made people feel good, putting people in their being comfortable, doing whatever we could to keep everybody safe. And it really just brought a lot of feelings into it, which was hard, but also really just brought a lot of perspective to the business in itself. And then it really, it brought everybody together as a team, because we all were dealing with it. We all had to figure life out. Your life, your work, your kids, whatever, you had to figure it all out. So I really think that it grew us as humans for sure. But it also grew us in business. I think I look at now and we're coming back from COVID with a vengeance, which is really amazing. And even when we were shut down COVID wise, we weren't shut down for a long time, but we were adjusting periods. We stayed on top of it and stayed busy. And like I said, people still wanted to come. They did not want us to be shut down. So it was a really great, silver lining of COVID. It was a great turning point for our business, just to see that side of people and clients and staff wise.
Yeah, I think that was the case for a lot of people, where the organizations, the number one, went into it having a pretty strong culture, that were doubling down on it during that period and really having that figure it out attitude. I found that in many of those cases, those folks are coming out of COVID better. You know, they've developed new revenue streams, new processes. They're more flexible. And when we talk about young people, that's one of the things that they all want is flexibility.
Yes.
People don't want to be in this rigid thing where it's just procedures and policies and rules and yada, yada, yada. Rather using real logic, using some consideration, being thoughtful about what's happening in the moment and how it applies. And I think that's a difficult thing to do, especially for folks who grew up in the old system of carrot and stick where everything was a policy. And now I think people are realizing that sameness isn't fairness.
Yeah.
That the most fair thing you can do in many times is deal with people individually. I think what people are looking for is consistency of logic. They want to know that there's a thought process. But as we tell people, you know, somebody wanting to go home because their child is sick is not the same as somebody wanting to go home so they can play a new video game that they got, right? Sameness and fairness is a different thing. So how do you deal with that piece of it, right? Because you have some people going in and going out. You have people being quarantined. You have people who are making different life decisions in terms of their families and things of that nature. Yep. So all of that is in upheaval. There's no clear blanket policy that you're able to lean on. What was kind of your thought process, or your strategy to have that flexibility and adaptability during that time?
Yeah. Your Vani words, like sameness isn't fairness, has been a very common theme at our salons the last year. So we use that a lot in a lot of terms when we deal with situations, but you're exactly right. Like it has been, it has opened us up to like think through each situation and not necessarily go back to like the rule book, like you said, and say, well, this is how we do things. Just trying to make it, because again, like you can create a good life, family and work. And we try to, as far as having 30 some women on your staff, like family is important. I have 3 kids of my own, so I understand how that works. So I want them to be able to live a life, to be able to be, where their family comes first and their work is still can be important to them. And so, just basically working with each individual and figuring out what their needs are and what they want. And I think the biggest challenge of that is then the next person next door, or like, oh, she gets to go home because her kids are sick all the time, but I don't have any kids, so that's not fair, or whatever it is, and so, just keeping it like on the same playing field, like we would give the same consideration to everybody. As managers of the salons, it's made us really just sit down and be rational about what we're deciding, instead of just having the black and white answer. So Well, and that's the thing is, I think what most people want is just to know that you're in the decision, right? That you're considering it. You're really being thoughtful about what their experience is. Give us your figure it out tip. Give us that thing that for that person who's like, I don't know what I'm doing, that's overwhelmed. Give us that one thing that you would just give as a piece of advice for somebody who's in a position where they're going to need to figure it out. I would say probably for me, like when it's me, I let other influences get in my head a lot, just because I want to take into consideration what everybody else is thinking. But if you can sit down, and I always have like a 1 or 2 person that I can just sit down and hash it out with. Like, here's our situation, here's what we're doing, what should we do? And just talk it out, and then making the decision on my own, like in my own, and just having the confidence that I know what I'm doing. Because nobody's going to be 100% happy with the decisions that you make or what you do. You're not going to make 100% of the people happy.
That is for sure.
Never, ever. If I get 50%, I might be excited about it. But so just having the confidence in what you're deciding. Again, going back to just being rational about what you're deciding and knowing that you've put the thought process into it and you've kind of weighed the decision making and what you need to do and what the next step is and where you need to go. You've put all the thought process into it, and then you can have the confidence that you've made the right decision without having 30 people give you their advice.
Well, that is, you want to hear all of those things, but you really want to think it through, and you really want to know why you're doing what it is you're doing. Not to defend it, but so that you can develop buy-in, so that you can explain it. You can give people the why. You can help them understand what the value of it is. And so many times leaders are making decisions kind of willy-nilly, and the mistake that we think a lot of people make is that they allow their positioned to justify their ideas versus their ideas justifying their position, right? I think part of the reason is letting people know I'm here because I'm experienced, because I have a knowledge base, because I have things to offer, and that's why I'm in this position,
Right.
and that's why I'm making this type of decision. Otherwise you're just kind of tiptoeing around it, and people can't believe in it if they don't think you believe in it.
Yeah. One of the things that we do a lot, and it's kind of backwards from what I was just saying too, but I always really like to include my staff in decision making.
Yeah.
Let them be heard, let them have a voice, and let them say what they want to say, and definitely take all of that into consideration when making your decision. Because even if, like you said, even if you don't go with what their idea is or they want to do, you have a why of why you didn't. But also they have a different perspective than you have. You're looking at things from the top. They're looking at things from like real world life. So letting them have input and just hearing what they have to say, it also just makes them feel good. It makes them feel heard, and they want and need that.
And you might come across a great idea, but as you pointed out, giraffes and turtles can be looking in the same direction, and they're going to see very different things, right? They're going to have different vantage points. One is going to see the top of grass. The other one is going to see the top of trees. It's going to be a different viewpoint. And I think being able to distill all of that is a really, really, really important skill. So for you, the individual, how have you developed most over this last 18 months? And what's that thing that you're going to take into the future?
I think I've developed most just having one, I have confidence in like my leaders that I have at the salon, so that feels really good. If I can walk away and be gone for a week, and everything would still run how I would run it if I wasn't there. So that's a lot of confidence built in that, which is really nice. Which then just in turn gives me the ability to open up and do something new and just be progressing the business something different, something new, something bigger, better.
Absolutely. Okay, let's wrap it up with this. What is something that you would tell future you, right, a year from now? And what is something that you think future you would tell you now?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
We're not playing games here at Think 3D, okay?
I know.
We do the hard-hitting questions.
I was like, pretty sure it's pretty easy until now. But okay, I would tell future me to just go for it. Just do what's in your head. Don't be scared to do what you're doing. Figure it out and just do it thing is really, it is true to form. If you do it, it's not as scary once you do it. It seems scary all the way up until the point, and then when it happens, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. Yeah. So just do that. Just do it. Do what you're thinking. Future me would tell me now, why didn't you do this sooner? That was dumb. That was not so scary, not so hard. Why didn't you just go for it? So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you. We appreciate your support and being able to engage with you all the time. I'm excited for people to look forward to you out there in the world, coming to a big stage near you. That's awesome. You also have some cool stuff happening. You have an event coming up that you guys are going to be doing. You want to tell us about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a little bit of a background just because if you're not in the hair world, you don't know. So back in 15 years ago, they would have big, huge hair shows that you go to. And I don't know if you really go to get education or if you go to see all your friends and buy a bunch of stuff and, whoop it up.
All of the above.
They were fun. They were really fun. They kind of went away from that just through the years. I don't know why. I don't know what they did. So, but now we get a lot at Hollywood Style. We believe in a lot of education. So we get a lot of education that's very hands-on and in our salon and very individualized. But again, going back to the if you have it, share it. Why not? Thing if we're gonna get these big educations events happening, why not share it with other people in the world? So we are having a old school hair show, I'm going to call it, Hollywood Style hair show that is going to be a lot of stage work, a lot of just really cool things happening downtown Sioux Falls at the Icon, which is going to be super cool. I'm super excited about that. It's just going to kind of bring back a little old school DJ fun stuff. It's going to just be another Vani stage, or Vani saying better for you, or better you is better for everyone. That's kind of our point on everything, just kind of being better us, and so that everybody else can be better. So that's coming up.
I love it. So make sure you check for that.
Yes.
And of course, you can always check for Think 3D at the website, letsthink3d.com, or you can check us out on all of our socials, which is Think 3D Solutions. Make sure you stay up with all of the things that we're doing here at Thinker Network. We thank you so much, Trish, for coming by. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Until next time, we will see you guys later. Appreciate you.